I'm Megan Hoban with Remax Results, your local Minnesota realtor, born and raised in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And today I would like to talk about basically what it takes to buy your first home. So really this video is going to be geared towards first-time home buyers looking to move to the Minnesota area. So the first thing that you want to do is pair up with a local lender. Having a local lender is very important because you want to make sure that they are going to be available to you when you need them the most. Most of the time when we are going out and looking at houses, it's going to be probably nights and weekends. So you want somebody that's going to be available to you. And also that's really going to walk you through the numbers because as a first-time home buyer, these things can be really scary. So when you meet with your lender for the first time, they're going to ask a variety of things, but really they're going to need, the main things that they're going to be looking at are, they're going to be looking at your credit, they're going to be looking at your income, your debt to income ratio, what you have for a down payment, and so on and so forth. And meeting with a lender, honestly, the sooner the better. A pre-approval can last will last about 90 days. But if you're like 6 months to 12 months out, meeting with somebody ahead of time and knowing exactly where you are financially and what your budget is going to be can be really beneficial to you. So after you meet with your lender and you know what your budget is, we will set you up on an MLS search. The MLS search is what I have access to as a realtor. So everybody does their, searches on Zillow and realtor.com, and that's great. And they are helpful tools, but they're also they're marketing tools for that company. So when you are ready to get the process started, I'll set you up on an MLS search and we can really gear it towards your criteria. So if you're looking in a certain school district, or if you want to be in a certain neighborhood, or if, you only want one level homes, we can really fine tune everything. So we know exactly what is popping up in your search that is within your budget and within your location and the criteria that meets everything that you are looking for. Now for the fun part. Once we know your budget, we have your pre-approval letter in hand that tells us what your budget is, and we have you set up on an MLS search and we know what your criteria is. That's when we'll start looking at houses. We will set up showings and we will go out and look at 3 to 5 houses every time, depending on kind of where they are and how quickly things are moving. So that's also going to depend on the time of year. I will help you find a house that fits your needs. Remember, seeing things in person can really help you see what's out there. Realtors do a great job at hiring professional photographers and they take really great pictures. So seeing houses in person are really important. Now, we found the house that you want to make an offer on. Things can start moving really quickly at this point. So the first thing that I'll need is for us to connect with your lender, and we're going to need to get an address-specific pre-approval letter. I will also, during that time, be running a competitive market analysis on that property, making sure that the house is priced at the market value or what it's listed at. So that way we can make a competitive offer, looking at comparables in the neighborhood and seeing what other homes have sold for in the last 30 to 90 days, depending on the area. Once we start writing our offer, few key terms that we're going to be talking about is earnest money, financing, contingencies, purchase price, and closing date. Now, as a buyer, sometimes the closing date can be really dependent on what the seller is needing or wanting for a closing date. So if the home is not occupied, they're probably looking for a 30 to 45 day close. If the home is occupied and say they are looking for a new property to purchase for themselves, the timeline for closing might be a little bit spread out. So that goes back to knowing what your timeline is and actually getting ahead of the game so we can really adjust things as needed as we go. On average, this should take about 30 to 45 days. So if you're ready to get started, let me know.